So I just came home from Green Machine, and it's time for me to do our last video together. Can you believe it? It's week 6. Hopefully, you've seen changes in your life. Hopefully, those changes are going to stick. So I wanted to talk today. I want to introduce a pretty simple model and talk about what's it look like to live this out. Let's get started. This is what I call the, what do I call it? I call this the learning model. So I'll write learning model. Did you just see a cat? One just jumped by my feet. So it's a triangle. This line represents information. This line represents imitation. And lastly, this line represents innovation. So we got 3 words, they kind of go together. Got some alliteration there. We got information, imitation, and innovation. So I believe true learning is when we take information in, then we practice it. That's the imitation phase. And then we apply it to our life. And I call that the innovation, when it becomes a part of us, a part of how we live. So information, we can even use the word data here. We get lots of information every day. And sometimes, God bless our teachers and what they try to do. And sometimes based on state testing and things like that, I feel like they're challenged to teach data, but not true learning. So I think we have to do all 3 things to actually consider learning. So information, we have data. That's input. Then we have imitation. And that's that really awkward stage where I think about like a child learning how to talk. And he's like, da, 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 ma, 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 blah, blah, blah. And it's like, they're trying to make words based on what they're hearing. They're imitating what they're hearing. And so there's this phase of imitation. And with the innovation, to me, this is like when we become experts, or we can think about expertise. Again, it becomes part of us. Now, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but it happens to me sometimes. I'll try something, and I'm not very good at it right away, and I'll be like, I ain't gonna do that anymore. I have an example. When my family gets together, they play bananagrams. And sometimes I'll walk by and I'll be like, oh, what are you playing? Oh, bananagrams. I've never played. I've looked over the shoulder and I thought, you know what? I won't be very good at that. So I'm just going to step back. Total lack of vulnerability, right? I'm just like, oh, I don't want to look dumb. So I want to look smart. So I'm just going to keep out of anything that may shine a flashlight on some insecurity of mine. So the imitation phase is all about vulnerability. Does anyone pick up a guitar and on the first week sound like Jimmy Page? No. Or Eric Leifson or Jimi Hendrix. It's like, no. They took years of practice to become experts. And somehow we tend to pick things up and go, oh, well, I'm just going to suck at this, so I'm just going to not do it anymore. And so the difference between a life well lived, where we have expertise and we've applied things to our lives, and just listening is this phase of imitation and vulnerability. There's this story in the Bible, and it goes something like this. Hey, there's this dude, and he built this house, but he built his house on the sand. And there's this other dude, and he built this house, and he built it on the rock. So what's the difference in the story between the one who built his rock on the sand and the one who built his house on the rock. Well, it's kind of subtle, but the story goes like this. One man heard my lessons and heard my teachings, and he went away and he was like, boy, that was a good sermon. Hey, what's on football today? Who's playing today? And so that he got information. He heard the sermon, but he walked away and he didn't apply it. He didn't imitate and he didn't innovate it. And then there's this other guy, and he heard the very same sermon, but he went away and he applied it. He put it into practice. He went through this vulnerability stage, and it became part of him. And we're told the guy who built his house on the rock is called wise, and the one who builds his house on the sand, who just hears the word but doesn't apply it, is the fool. And so the difference, I believe, in this story is we're told, hey, there's a wise way to live and there's a foolish way to live. And I've been the fool in many cases. I learned something to memorize it, to look smart, to look like I know what I'm doing, but I never really innovated it. I never really lived it out. My definition for wisdom is truth applied. So wisdom, I'll write that down. Wisdom equals truth applied. What's a life of wisdom look like? We take in information. We work on it. We're vulnerable. We may look silly. We may look like we don't know what we're doing. And then we innovate it, and it becomes a part of who we are. That is the learning model. So why do you bring this up, Tom? Well, here we are, week 6. And on week 1, we talked about beliefs. And how do beliefs shape our actions? How do beliefs shape our lives and our interactions and our relationship with food and our relationship with each other? Week 2, we talked about our true self. We talked about who we were really meant to be versus how we live and what we present to the world around us. Week 3, we talked about that circle of responsibility. What am I putting in my backpack that isn't supposed to be there? Week 4, we talked about living present and actually connecting with people and like, come on, let's look each other in the eyes, not in this weird, awkward way, but let's look each other in the eyes and just connect and get to know how we're feeling and how we're thinking and what we're experiencing in life. And then last week we talked about the life wheel. Where in my life do I want to grow? Where in my life do I just go, I want to be more full in this area? And so with each one of these weeks, the question I have is, if you'll take one thing from one of these lessons, I believe it will help shape your life. What if we started looking at those beliefs that are writing in that subconscious that keep me from living out the full expression of who I am? What if I realize that I've been hiding myself behind this protective layer of wanting to look rich, wanting to look smart, wanting to look wise, wanting to look powerful? What if I laid that down? What if I just took a few steps into becoming more of my essence, more of my true self? What if, on week 3, what if I just really thought about my circle of responsibility every night? And I just what did I put in my backpack today? What do I need to unload? What if we really spent time each week and just put 10 minutes aside? We took one step to go, I want to be more present with you. And I'd love to set some time aside where we leave our phones in the other room and we just grab a coffee or a wine or, I don't know, something stronger and just be together. And then what if I picked one thing of the circle of, not circle of responsibility, but the life wheel and just said, you know what? I am going to grow in 2025 in this area. So just pick one thing from one of those areas and apply it to your life. Imitate it, even though it might be awkward, it might be uncomfortable. Let it become a part of who you are. Innovate it into your life. And you know what? I don't like making lots of guarantees, but my guarantee is your life will look better if you're willing to do it. So what one thing will you take away from this challenge? what one thing will you say, I'm committed and I am willing to do this? My desire is that people live a life full of love, full of connection, and full of abundance. And that life is available to all of us when we're willing to learn and we're willing to grow. Now, I don't want to make too much of myself, but you know what I love doing? I love helping people walk through life. So if you know someone, or you're like, you know what, I want a better relationship with my sister, or I really want to have better intimacy in my marriage, or I really want some direction of where I want to be going in life, or I really want to grow spiritually, or I really want to get down to those nitty-gritty stories I tell myself. If any of those things apply to you, then I would just love to meet with you or the people in your life who may want to grow in that area. It's my passion. I feel that's my purpose in this season of my life. Help people live the best life possible. Help people experience joy, love, and connection. That's it. Hope you enjoyed the challenge, and thanks for watching. We'll look forward to the party at the end of the challenge. Thanks, guys. I'm clicking the off button now.